Hey guys, and happy Wednesday, and welcome to episode 43. I know it's been a while. I just posted something yesterday for episode 42 when I talked about the Let's Go to Prison film by Bob Odenkirk, starring Dax Shepard and Will Arnett. So here I am Wednesday, as promised, and I'm back, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about the independent graphic novel, Chicken Devil. And this was published by a company called Aftershock Comics. Just give me a second here, guys. I'm probably not going to talk too much in the beginning about what I watched, guys, just because I recorded something yesterday. And to be quite honest with you, I haven't really watched anything yesterday. Mostly playing video games when I got home from work and doing a little bit of reading and stuff. So there isn't a really much to talk about as far as what I watched. Um, Hoping to see that new Josh Hartnett movie over the weekend, Trap, I think it's called. So that's something I'm looking forward to, and I'm hoping to get through some of the watch pile. I still have a bunch of Oliver Reed films that I haven't seen yet. Just a reminder, we're going to be doing, I have to coordinate with Jose and Justin, but we are going to be doing our next Oliver Reed film at some point not in August. Hannibal Brooks, like I've mentioned before, it's on Amazon Prime where you can watch it for free, or you can pick it up for like $6 off Hamilton Books, which is pretty damn cheap. Also, it's obviously available at places for purchase like Amazon and stuff like that, but it's a lot more expensive for some reason. So those are some upcoming things. On Friday or Saturday, I'm going to be talking about Big Stan, starring apparently the controversial Rob Schneider. I like his comedy. Kind of a little bit shocked that he feels the need to become this super preachy kind of guy. I didn't know he was like that. I don't know. I've liked most of his performances. I think he's relatively funny. He has some weak performances. He has some good performances, but overall, I like Rob. He actually did a charity event in my hometown about 12 years or so ago, and it was a charity fundraiser. I don't even remember what it was for, but he did like a stand-up routine for about an hour and a half, and he was pretty good. So I'm kind of a little bit dismayed to hear about this thing with the Olympics and these stupid comments. It's just like you can believe whatever you want. That's perfectly fine, but no one really wants to hear it. I mean, not to be a dick or anything, but nobody really wants to hear it. Just keep your shit, pardon myself, my French here, but keep your shit to yourself, especially when you're a celebrity. If you wanna donate to something that you believe in, that's great. But I don't want to hear your toxic views on everything. I don't think anyone does. I always thought good old Robin Williams did it the best way. When he wanted to help somebody or do something good for a cause, he'd just donate the money, but he would keep it quiet. Like if some kid was dying of cancer, he'd go visit them at the hospital, but he wouldn't make this big PR event out of it. He would just simply go visit them and try to make their life better, or maybe give them some stuff, spend time with them. But it wasn't about this toxicity. I feel like everyone wants a pat on the back, uh, and sometimes they want a pat on the back when they're just spewing hatred and crap out of their mouth. It's like, is your career that of an all-time low, Rob, where you need to spew hatred and toxicity into the air? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going off. I'm going off on a tangent there. I was disappointed to hear about that whole thing. Needless to say, I'm still going to talk about Big Stan. Um, I planned on doing Big Stan before this event happened, and I think it's a fucking funny movie. So that's something to look forward to. Hopefully Friday or Saturday. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it for what's going on. Obviously next week I'll have another film to talk about. Definitely a graphic novel, at least the first issue or so. Just not sure what yet. I'm kind of trying to figure out what I want to cover as far as comic books, as well as my movie for next week. But I will obviously announce that on my Facebook uh, channel, so Facebook page, excuse me. So look forward to that in the future. Um, so with all that said, guys, I'll get right into Chicken Devil. So it was published by Aftershock Comics, which is like an indie comic label, from what I understand. Issue one originally premiered on October 6th, 2021. I'm going to really just get into the first issue just to kind of give you guys a tease. I'm not going to get into the other three issues that are covered in the graphic novel that I have. Um, yeah, so it premiered on October 6th, 2021. About a year later, volume one was collected in the graphic novel format. Um, it's written by a guy named Brian Buccaletto. And Brian, I think I got your last name right. I might have finally gotten somebody's last name pronounced correctly, guys. I'm patting myself on the back. Got to take these accomplishments when I can get them, you know? Who knows? Maybe I got it wrong. But Brian is a New York Times best-selling writer, believe it or not. He's known for his work on titles like The Flash, Batman, and Injustice. Not Injustice, Injustice. As you can see, guys, I can make my words again today, you know? We have art by a gentleman named Hayden Sherman. Hayden's done stuff like Halo, the John Carter comic book, Batman, The Few, Cold War, Thumbs, uh, Above, Snakes, and Wasted Space. So he's done kind of like a little bit of the big boy stuff working for Marvel and DC, but then he's done some indie stuff as well. So I wasn't familiar with either of these two guys, but I did enjoy Chicken Devil, which, you know, I'll give you my thoughts on that in a bit. Um, with that, hold on, if I can get my tablet to work here, guys. I'm going to read a quick prologue. It starts off with our main character, who's a gentleman named Mitchell. Just bear with me for a second. And hold on. He goes, "You ever have one of those days that started off normal and suddenly took a sharp turn into what the fuck? I'm about to have one of those days, but not yet." And he's like kind of narrating this. Starts off, it's the morning time. He's having his cup of coffee. He's a guy named Mitchell Moss. He's probably in his early 40s. He's a family man. He owns a chain of chicken restaurants called Mitch's Hot Chicken, along with his co-partner Alonzo, or excuse me, not Alonzo, Antonio. Not getting names wrong already, guys. I'm slipping here. Um, anyway, so we're introduced to Mitchell Moss. He's having his cup of coffee in the morning. He's trying to wake up, like most of us. I'm still trying to wake up, guys, and it's 12 o'clock in the afternoon here, almost 1 o'clock. But anyway, um, he's a family man. He has two kids that are teenagers, a wife. You know, they do all right for themselves. Like I said, he has a partner named Antonio who also co-owns this chain of chicken restaurants. Um, Spicy chicken. I guess that's become a thing. I don't know. I've always enjoyed chicken spicy. I prefer mild, but you know, going off topic here, getting me hungry talking about chicken. I do enjoy good chicken, guys. Um, we're introduced, like I said, his wife, whose name is Denise, Hannah, his teenage daughter, and Christian, his uh, teenage son as well. Um, or excuse me, Denise, his wife, has been with him since the early days, the beginning, when he first opened up this restaurant with Antonio. Just bear with me, guys. Um, as he's talking to everybody, they all want a piece of his action. And you can see he's just like, man, I just want a second cup of coffee and to be left alone. His kids talking about his son Christian's talking about how he wanted to go to the store and pick something up, and he's nagging his dad. His daughter Hannah's reminding him, don't forget to pick him up later on from the mall. And his wife's saying, "Hey, don't forget later on. We got to make time because we got to plan that family vacation, and we need to figure out the days and what we're doing." You know, so everybody, well intentioned, but they all want a piece of our man here, Mitchell. And Mitchell's one of those guys. He's a little bit of a neurotic. He's just trying to just start his day off and just chill. And I get it, guys. I'm one of those guys. Like I actually get up usually about an hour before I need to because I need to brush my teeth, put on my contacts, get a cup of water, take my multivitamins. I need a little bit of chill time before I just race out the door and, you know, just fucking race into work and get moving. I just need that. So I can kind of relate to Mitchell. If someone like just says, "Get up, we're going," like I, you don't understand how much that irritates me. I just do not work well with just being like probed and prompted to just jump at command and immediately get going to what's got to get going. You know what I mean? Like I need that unwind time, and then once you give me that unwind time, you'll get some productivity. You'll get some good stuff done. But otherwise, not so much. And I'm also one of those people like if you're up my ass first thing in the morning, barking things, what needs to get done, this has to be done. Don't forget that, like listen, I'll be polite, I'll make conversation with you. I'm a pleasant enough fella, but please don't engage in me too early in the morning. My poor brain knows, no, it's time to be antisocial. Leave me alone. I'll be sociable in another hour or two when I'm fully awoke. But that's just me. So we kind of get that vibe from our man Mitchell here. So he's trying to like be polite. He loves these people. They're his family. He's trying to figure everything out. And all of a sudden his cell phone rings and it's his business partner, fellow co-owner of his restaurant chain. It's his buddy Antonio, and Antonio's like, "Get down here! There's an emergency." So we cut to seeing Antonio, meeting him for the first time, as well as Mitch, and they're in this kitchen, and there's this pressure fryer um, that's been frazzled. The cord's frazzled. It's pretty much rusted and burnt, and a good portion of the kitchen is looking the same. There was apparently a fire, and Mitch is complaining. He's like, "How did this happen?" You know, I maintain these pressure fryers all the time. We lost 3 months worth of inventory, it looks like, and I have to get new pressure fryers. And Antonio's like, "Well, they were always breaking down, so I had a professional come in and take a look at them and fix them properly." And Mitch starts screaming, and well, they're very delicate, and only I know how to handle them. And they have this exchange of like, well, if you know how to handle it, how come they were always breaking down? He's like, so they have like this big kind of scream out match, argument. They're both aggravated. You kind of get the impression early on, Antonio is not the responsible business partner. Their business partnership is tenuous at best. He's probably a good guy to party with and have some beers with. Um, but he doesn't seem like he's the most well balanced kind of guy. You feel like Mitch is the guy that's constantly stressed out and the kind of guy that's kind of really running the show. You know what I mean? Um, they get into this huge argument. It spirals and it only gets worse. Um, all of a sudden, what happens? We see a group of thuggish, only best described as mobbish looking fellows walk into the room and immediately, start kicking them and beating them up and bruising them. And, of course, Mitch is like, what in the is going on? What happened? I didn't, what do you want from us? Do you want you're here for my precious recipe? And they're like, no, we're not here for your recipes, idiot. We're here because you have our drugs. Where are our drugs? And of course, Mitch is in shock. Lo and behold, uh, another gentleman walks in, a more intimidating fellow, and he's the leader, and his name is Thomas Kovicevic. And Thomas, I probably got your last name mispronounced. That's okay. You're a fictional character. I'm not going to sweat it. Anyway, he approaches Mitch and says, "Well, obviously, your idiot business partner didn't tell you what he was really doing here. He's been running drugs for us through your little chicken franchise for several months now." So of course Mitch is even more pissed. And he at this point he's getting bruised and kicked and beaten up and screamed at um, by everybody, including Antonio. And effectively at one point the mob boss Tom is like, "Listen, it's very simple. It doesn't matter if there was a fire and things happened by accident or not, but our drugs were stored in this storage area here, and you lost $2 million worth of our stuff. And if you don't get it, everyone you love is going to die. And he- he's pretty intimidating. So effectively, they know the stakes. Um, so we cut to, and the next thing you know, we see our man Mitch, and he's in the family in a wagon with his wife and his two kids, and they're tearing down the parkway. He's speeding, and his wife, tells him to stop driving like an asshole. She's like, "You're driving like a crazy man." And he's like, we have to get to the dock because the boat's going to leave in 15 minutes." And she's like, "All of a sudden, you want to spend time with everyone." He's like, "Before it was hard enough to get you to just sit down for Sunday dinner as a family member." And he's like, "Listen, I don't have time for the lectures right now. I was trying to run a business with an idiot business partner. You guys wanted to go on a vacation, so we're going on a vacation." Um, they get to the dock. I mean, the kids are arguing in the back, like typical siblings. They get to the dock. He's like, "Listen, I need your cell phones." He's like, "They're going to be apparently filming a reality show, and they can't have anybody with cell phones on board because they're afraid that something will get leaked to the press." He's basically feeding them some BS, and they're like, she can see that everybody, all the kids too, they can realize something seems kind of weird. This morning, they were trying to navigate their day, and next thing you know, halfway through the day, they're talking about going on a vacation suddenly. Um, his wife corners him and saying, "What's going on?" He's like, "Nothing that I can't handle." He says, "Right now, I need you and the kids to get on the boat, the yacht, and I will catch up with you later." She's like, "Catch up with you later? It's going to be leaving soon." He's like, "I will catch up with you. Just get on the boat for right now. There's some things that I have to go do." So his wife just looks at him very suspiciously, and he just tries his best to reassure her and just tells her, "We're going to get through this. There's just something I can't talk to you about, and something I just have to deal with at the moment." Um, they got on the boat reluctantly, and as he drives away, we hear a loud explosion, and we see a loud explosion in the background. Apparently, the yacht that they just got on blew up. So he's sobbing and in tears, obviously, because he thinks his family's dead. He gets a phone call from an unknown number, and then it just hangs up immediately. You get the impression that the mob is kind of trying to send a message to him. So he's brought down to the police station. They ask him if he knows anything about what's going on, and he's frazzled and he says no. Um, they said, "Are you sure?" And because your business partner, seems a little bit shady. We heard about the fire that happened, and there's nothing you want to talk to us about. And he's like, "No." Um, he's a mess. I mean, listen, his family just died. He's crying. He's not in good shape. He goes back to his home, um, and just as he gets into the door, and he just still a total mess. Who calls him? But Antonio, and Antonio calls him, and he says, "Listen, I'm so sorry for not talking to you about this earlier. I never should have gotten involved with these men. It was just a way to make some quick cash, instead of grinding." And Mitchell's like, "We were doing well. We were on our way to doing even better. You didn't have to take shortcuts. Why did you do this?" He's like, "My whole family is dead because of you." And Antonio says, "I know, and I'm sorry." And he's like, "Right now, we just have to focus on finding a way out of this, getting out of this." And it's just like, "We have to find a way getting out of this. You have to find a way getting out of this." And Antonio reminds him, like, "No, unfortunately, you're involved in this too." And he's like, Whether your family's dead or not, you have to get out of this as well, unfortunately, because you're now entangled in all this mess." And he's like, I have a way to get out of this, but you have to trust me." And Mitchell's like, "Trust you? What are you talking about? Trust you? After what you did, you piece of shit." Like, I should go over there and kill you myself. He's feeling vengeance towards these people. He's feeling vengeance towards his partner. He's a bit of a mess. Um, but Antonio tells him, "Listen, we can take some stuff that'll make our life easier. I just need you to pick it up. It's at my local gym where I go to. If you go at this particular time, It'll probably be empty. Get in, here's the combination to the locker, grab the bag, and get out. And then we'll figure out a way to survive. We'll leave the country. And, again, Mitchell's like, so your answer is to run. And Antonio's like, well, it's the only answer unless we can come up with $2 million somehow or another. And I don't think that's going to happen. Uh, so Mitch is kind of like in this, I've got nothing. I've got no options. My family's dead. I'm in a shitty situation. So I have to figure a way out. Um, and he feels like that's probably the best possible solution. Pardon me, guys. Um, so what does Mitch do in the meantime? He goes to visit his mom, and we get introduced to his mom and realize his mom is in jail. That's right. His mom's a prisoner, and realize she's not the best mom in the world. Apparently, she stabbed her boyfriend, and that's why she's in jail. Uh, so he asks her for advice, and she's like, I can't really give you advice because they record these conversations. The only thing I can tell you is when you're desperate, you've got to do what you've got to do to get out of the situation. So effectively, it's just like you just got to do the dirty deed, whatever it's got to get done to make it to get through the other side. Effectively, that's what she's saying. Um, so he's feeling like he's not really getting too much good advice there. So we cut to our next scene, and he arrives at the gym. And when he gets to the gym, it's pretty much empty, except for this guy at the counter who's staring at his phone, like most of us do. Mitchell's wearing this big chicken head mask, um, so you can't really make out who he is to disguise himself. Um, he arrives at the gym with the chicken head mask, and he goes to the locker room. As he enters the locker room, we see a wet floor sign, and we can see that the floor is still very, very wet. He opens the locker, grabs a bag. It looks like there's drugs inside the bag, possibly heroin. Um, as he's making this realization, a mob guy walks in with a gun and tells him to drop the bag. And what does Mitch do? Does Mitch drop the bag? No, Mitch does not drop the bag, guys. Mitch takes the bag and proceeds to run. Now, mind you, now the exit is the other way. It's not the way he's running. So, of course, between the wet floor and him running in a direction with no real exit, he slips and falls on his ass. This gangster guy effectively laughs at him and kind of lectures him. He's like, "You idiot. Where do you think you were going to go? You didn't even head to the exit. And now you're sitting on the ground and you're trying to escape. And for what? You weren't going to get away." So this guy's having a good laugh at his expense. And, like I said, he's lecturing. And what ends up happening is in the process of lecturing him and laughing at him, he, of course, himself slips. He does the old banana peel slip, guys, or something out of like a Three Stooges or a Charlie Chaplin kind of thing. He slips and falls on his ass. He hits his head, and the gun's in his hand, and it ends up like this, and it accidentally fires, and there's blood everywhere. And we see Mitch still lying there on the ground with a chicken mask, partially on, partially off. He's just in absolute shock. He's having like, what the fuck? Like this, how could this day get any worse? Um, and that's how we are introduced to the world of Chicken Devil. That's our very first issue. I was gonna go into some further issues, guys, but I wanted to make this kind of like a short episode and give you a little bit of a tease into the world of Chicken Devil. Um, like with a lot of comedies, guys, I feel like comedies, I love comedies, but whether it's a movie, a book, graphic novel, but there's a lot of comedic beats. But I don't want to give them all away. I want you guys to enjoy them and appreciate them. So that's why I'm not going into every last detail. Excuse me, sorry about that camera shake there. For the first issue, I mainly just want to give you guys a tease. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, the graphic novel I picked it up, I think, from Barnes and Nobles. But I've seen it on Amazon. Not overly expensive. It collects the first 4 issues. It's a pretty fun read. I read all 4 issues. I really enjoyed it. It's not perfect, which I won't go into. Later on, like towards the 4th issue, there's something I don't 100% agree with, but again, I'm getting ahead of myself. But I do think, if you guys like dark comedies and you love crime stories, I think this is something you'll probably enjoy. I guess I can show you some of the artwork. If I can get my camera to actually, obviously this is the cover, but if I can show you a little bit more, like this gives you a little bit of the style, some of the artwork, um, some cool stuff in the back, like some of the covers they get for the original when they publish the issues individually. Like this one right here is pretty cool too. I think it's if you're a comic book nerd and you like reading, this is I love this one. I wish this was a real action figure. This is badass. Oh, get a better view of it. And same thing with this is also another really cool cover. I think if you like I said, if you like a good light read that's funny and that's dark, um, it's a good book and it's definitely worth your time. So I would highly recommend it, guys. If you liked hearing more about Chicken Devil, um, let me know. Because like Stone Star, I could always cover like another issue or two. I don't have anything set in stone for next week. I have a couple ideas. Um, I don't want to read the entire series to you guys. I'm not really reading it, just I'm kind of giving my interpretation. I stopped doing reading verbatim, word for word. I'm giving you my interpretation of it. But if you want me to interpret and give you my thoughts on some of the other issues, I will do that. I have no problem with that at all. Otherwise, I'm probably going to move on to another story. This is something to whet your palate. If it sounds something like you guys might be interested in, like I said, definitely check it out. Because you got all the components of a good story. You got funny, you got some serious moments, you got some really dark moments, you got a well written story, and you got great art. So I mean, it kind of checks off all the boxes. If you're a comic book nerd and you're looking for something different. I of course do read, occasionally like the Marvel and DC stuff. I think some of those characters are interesting and fun. Um, but I generally tend to lean these days, in particular, more towards the indie stuff. To me, that's just a little more compelling. The thing with like Spider-Man and Batman and all those cool characters, there's so many different storylines that have been written over the years. I just feel like it's kind of becomes redundant at a certain point, and it's almost like I feel like it's hard to keep those characters fresh. And for me to read you like the newest arc in Spider-Man, or which I haven't read, so I don't know. I haven't read Spider-Man in years, or Batman, or one of those things. I feel like that kind of stuff gets enough coverage. And here at the channel, and now for something a little bit different, I do for the most part, not always, but I generally try to focus on the stuff that is a little bit different and the stuff that maybe you perhaps haven't heard of, or maybe you've heard just the name of, but you don't really know too much about it. So that's why to me it's important to spotlight and give focus to some of these smaller titles that might have gone unnoticed to the mainstream. So with that said, guys, I hope you guys have yourself a wonderful Wednesday. As usual, be sure to check out my fellow podcasters. You got Not a Bomb with Brad and Troy. Today, I started listening to, but I have to finish listening. They're covering Wind Talkers, uh, early 2000s movie that John Woo directed, starring Nicolas Cage. Um, they're also they did Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny last week. So if you haven't caught up with their current catalog, check that out as well. Um, we have The Gentleman's Guide to Midnight Cinema with Will and Sam, who each week they bring us a new and interesting film. Sometimes it's mainstream, sometimes it's a little more obscure, but they always give you a great selection of films to pick from. Excuse me. Um, and they just have great chemistry together. You can tell they've been doing it for years because they do it effortlessly, and it's always a great listen. So check those guys out. Of course, I have to mention Watch Skip Plus with Jose and Alex. These guys will cover a movie that comes out every Friday. It's usually a new movie. Sometimes, occasionally, it's like a Netflix movie, but it's usually a movie playing in theaters. Like last week, they covered the movie Twisters, and they keep you up to date on whether or not you should be watching some of the newer movies that are coming out in the movie theaters. They also have a plus part of the podcast where they'll talk about whether it's a new product that's being introduced, maybe it's a book they've read, or a piece of clothing that they think you should be wearing, and that adds another cool element to the show, which I always thought was very enjoyable. So check out Alex and Jose at Watch Skip Plus. And of course, I can't help but mention the boys over at Raiders of the Podcast. Raiders of the Podcast. These guys are awesome, and they do such a great job of covering such a wide variety of films as well. Last week they covered the films of Gene Rollins. Again, I probably mispronounced Rollins. Maybe I didn't. Um, and they talked about four of his films, which I think is amazing that they're talking about four different films, and they still managed to do it in like just under an hour, or maybe it was an over an hour. I don't remember exactly. Um, but they cover a wide variety of different films, and they usually then, after they're done covering them, they talk about which film was the best. And again, they're just exposing you to a lot of different films. And if you're like me, I feel like as many films as I've seen, there's so many more that I haven't seen. There's so many directors whose filmography I'm not aware of, or I've just taken the leap down their rabbit hole, so to speak, and I've only seen one or two titles by them. So these guys do a really good job of, again, bringing exposure to some of these filmmakers that definitely deserve it. So check out the boys over at Raiders of the Podcast. I'm also going to mention Caliber 9 from Outer Space. They also do like a similar thing where they cover more than one movie. It almost gives you like a drive-in feel. They have the A movie, the big A-list movie, and then they have the B movie, just the way the drive-ins used to do it. And that's another really good show. They've been out for just under a year, I think now, and they cover another one that covers such a good selection of different stuff. So check those guys out. I'm going to go and now mention one that a good gentleman I mentioned yesterday, because I talked about Let's Go to Prison with Dax Shepard. So I'm going to talk about a little bit more about Armchair Expert. Armchair Expert, like I said yesterday, he started his career, Dax, as a an actor, then eventually did some directing, directed 3 films, a couple television episodes of stuff. Um, and then now he's kind of pivoted into the world of being a podcaster. And Armchair Expert's really cool, guys. It's a good show because, like, on the surface, I think you were like, oh, it's a celebrity interviewing more celebrities, and on a certain level, yeah, it is. But what's cool about it is he really kind of tries to get to know the people, not just the projects they're working on. He tries to get inside their head and try to understand their background and what inspires them. Um, and it's a really interesting show. And it's not just actors. There's also like filmmakers and writers. And he actually does a couple episodes a week. He does one on Monday, which is like more of like interview writer, Hollywood type people. And then he does an episode on Thursday where he talks to people, like sometimes it'll be like a professor or an expert on a particular subject. Um, sometimes, it might be a guy that wrote a book, like a novelist, or an artist, so he kind of gives you a little bit of a variety. And then on Friday, he has a special episode that's dedicated just to us fans. And he'll have like a topic like the time I, got in a car accident, or what's the best thing that's ever happened in my life. I'll just have these topics that people will then write in, and then he'll go have them on and talk to them about these different situations. And a lot of times there's these really funny, crazy stories. So he's a guy that I would highly recommend if you get a chance. He's on Spotify. That's where I listen to him. I'm sure he's on the other outlets too, like Apple and all those other things. So definitely check out Armchair Expert as well, guys. So that's the big show, or should I say little show, for episode 43, because I know this probably isn't a very long episode, but that's okay because I'm going to have you guys with a third episode, 3 in 1 week, guys, hopefully by the end of the week, for Big Stand. So I hope you guys have a great Wednesday, and I will see you soon.